Who will be the rider of the white horse at Revelation's first seal? I mean, it's probably the event that launches the tribulation period or 70th week of Daniel, so Christians really want to know, but it's a big mystery. Some people think it's Jesus, some think it's Elijah, others think it's the Antichrist, but here's an option you probably haven't thought about. Is the Islamic Mahdi, the Messiah of Islam, the rider of the white horse in Revelation's first seal? Because, believe it or not, Muslims say that he is. In fact, they have a prophecy that states this directly. Kabal Habar says, I find the Mahdi recorded in the books of the prophets. For instance, the book of Revelation says, and I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him went forth conquering and to conquer. Amazing. Muslim prophecy quoting the Bible. And because of this, powerful leaders in Islam have kept a white horse handy, so just in case they have the opportunity to be the Mahdi or, Islamic Messiah, they want to be ready. Saladin of the Crusades fame had one. Saddam Hussein had one. Mohammed bin Salman from Saudi Arabia has one too. And MBS has one other thing going for him. He has the right name. Muhammad said the name of the Mahdi will be Muhammad, his name. But first, who is this Mahdi? Islam has a tradition that the Mahdi, the Redeemer of Islam, will come as a ruler or caliph of the whole world. The arrival of Mahdi will coincide with the arrival of someone they call Isa, who they believe is the historic Jesus, the Christian Messiah, except they believe Isa will declare himself to be a Muslim and will subjugate himself and act as the Mahdi's assistant. So, in their view, the Muslim Jesus is just the second fiddle. And together, these two will rule the world and kill Christians and Jews who refuse to convert to Islam. Will this coming of the Mahdi mark the breaking of the first and second seals of Revelation? That's our theory, so maybe. This is Last Days Breaking News with Nelson Walters, and we're discussing all of that today. Now, the first thought all of you have is, if you're a Christian or Jew, why do we care what Islamic prophetic tradition has to say? Obviously, it isn't inspired by God. But those following Islam believe it is, and that makes an incredible difference. They will do everything in their power to make these prophecies come true. That is what this video is about. Additionally, fallen angels and demons may attempt to make these man-made prophecies come true as well, to further deceive those in Islam. So, since Islamic tradition says the Mahdi arrives in a time of conflict and strife on a white horse, those desiring him will attempt to cause conflict and chaos to bring him in. Let's say that again. If the Mahdi arises in chaos, his followers will try to cause chaos. This is why groups like ISIS work all about war, conflict, bloodshed. They were trying to bring in the Mahdi. And secondly, demonically possessed men may even attempt to pose as the Mahdi or Isa to make the deception complete. So just because an Islamic prophecy isn't God-inspired, that doesn't mean it won't come true. Men will work hard to make it come true. And that is what the nation of Turkey is attempting to do right now. Let's give a shout out to our community member, Jason Lawrence, for providing some research about Turkey for this update. But before we get to that, how close a match is the Mahdi with the rider of the white horse? Well, as we saw previously, both ride white horses, and second, both are conquerors. In Islam, they expect the Mahdi to conquer and control the entire world, and control it under Sharia law. They also expect everyone to convert to Islam or be killed if they refuse. They also expect all the Mahdi's followers to take a mark. I bet your ears perked up at that. Let's look at the end of the Muslim prophecy we examined at the beginning. Kabal Habar says, I find the Mahdi recorded in the books of the prophets. For instance, the book of Revelation says, and I saw and behold a white horse. He that sat on him went forth conquering and to conquer. We've seen that part. Here's the rest of it. Sadat and Arif then go on to say, it is clear this man is the Mahdi who will ride the white horse and judge by the Quran with justice, and with whom will be men with marks of prostration on their foreheads. Is this mark of prostration the mark of the beast? It's on a forehead. It certainly sounds like it could be. So at this point, I bet you're starting to think, wow, this guy, the Mahdi, sounds a lot like the Antichrist. There are many, if not a majority of Christians who believe the rider of the white horse is the Antichrist, and many of those other Islamic beliefs fit with this as well. A man who considers himself a Messiah, a man who kills everyone who doesn't worship his way, a man who has followers who have a mark on their foreheads. And this isn't what Christians are saying. Remember, this is what the Islamic traditions are saying about this man. So let's hold on to that theory at least loosely as we continue this video. But regardless of whether he is the Antichrist, or will be the Antichrist, it's fair to say that the coming of the Mahdi is to the majority of Muslims what the return of Jesus is to Christians. While Christians await the return of Jesus to fulfill all of God's prophetic promises, the people of Islam await the appearance of the Mahdi to fulfill those same purposes. What would you do to hasten the return of Jesus? Muslims think the same way about bringing about the return of the man they call Al-Mahdi. So we should take seriously a recent article by Walid Shobat, whose father was a Palestinian terrorist who eventually converted to Christianity. Walid is a Christian. His recent report outlines preparations by Turkey to create a pan-Islamic military to carry out anti-Christian, anti-Jewish genocide in order to bring about the chaotic world that ushers in the Mahdi, what they consider the Islamic Messianic era. Shobat described how a former Turkish brigadier general, Adnan Tanriverdi, has established an organization called Sadat for the purpose of bringing about the Mahdi by carrying out a genocide of Christians and Jews. As we mentioned previously, Muslims believe the Mahdi appears during a time of worldwide chaos. And during that time, they believe everyone will convert to Islam. In fact, in one of the Islamic prophecies in the Hadiths, one of Muhammad's wives stated that when the Mahdi arrives, non-Muslims will all convert. According to Shia Islam, the Mahdi will be preceded by an era in which 2/3 of the world's population is going to die. 1/3 by plague, 1/3 by war. This is another Islamic prophecy that has echoes in the Holy Bible. The 2/3 number is found in Zechariah 13:8. God says 2/3 of those in Israel will die during the 70th week of Daniel. And in Revelation 6:7-8, the green horseman is given authority to kill 1/4 of the earth's population. And at the 6th trumpet in Revelation 9, God's 200 million angels kill an additional 1/3 of the earth's population with fire and brimstone. Did the writers of the Hadiths know these true prophecies first before they wrote their own and copied the ideas? It's really very likely. But the real takeaway is that devout, and in this case misguided Muslims, may try to fulfill these things, including the death of 2/3 of the world's population. This is the part that makes the Iranian nuclear program so scary. Shobat's article details the activities of this Tanriverdi and his organization. Tanriverdi was appointed as Turkey's chief military advisor after the attempted coup of 2016, but he eventually stepped down back in 2020 after claiming that his organization's mission to, quote, prepare the ground for the coming of the Mahdi, end of quote, was more important. Tanriverdi's website states it, quote, aims at establishing the cooperation among the Islamic countries in the sense of military and defense industries in order to assist the Islamic world to take the rank it deserves among the super global powers as a self-sufficient power. In other words, they desire a pan-Islamic army to be as strong as the USA's, China's, or Russia's. In this previous video, we discussed how Turkey has been trying to reconstruct the Ottoman Empire and build an army from those nations. 2023 is going to mark the 100th anniversary of the breakup of that empire, which spanned most of the Middle East, and Turkey has expressed a desire to rebuild it in that year, in 2023. Those Middle Eastern and North African nations include Syria, Iraq, Iran, Sudan, and Libya, which interestingly are the same nations of the Ezekiel 38 Gog of Magog alliance. Turkey is unknowingly trying to build the Bible's Gog-Magog alliance. Sadat is already in all these nations right now, actively training Islamic elements who adhere to a fundamentalist ideology. Let's look at that Ezekiel 38 alliance and see how these nations fit into it. I will turn you around, put hooks in your jaw, and bring you out with your whole army, your horses, your horsemen, fully armed, and a great horde, with large and small shields, all of them brandishing their swords. Persia, which is Iran, Cush, which is Sudan, and Put, which is Libya, will be with them, all with shields and helmets. Also Gomer, which may be Azerbaijan, with all its troops, and Beth Togarmah from the far north, which may be the stand countries of Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, with all its troops, the many nations with you. Sadat is also reaching out to other nations to join this Middle Eastern army. Ali Khosar, a retired colonel, praised the Taliban as, quote, members of a resistance movement that fought against colonial America for 20 years to take over the government and establish a state that practices Sharia. Turkey is actively trying to become Afghanistan's ally and fold them into this army. This channel thinks it's very interesting that a number of these nations that we just have been talking about have all had political upheavals in just the last dozen years, which makes them much more likely to join this alliance. President Obama unseated the government in Libya. President Bush unseated the government in Iraq. Syria has had a civil war since the Obama administration. Sudan just underwent a military coup this week. And no one needs to be told about the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. This amount of political turmoil cannot be coincidence in our opinion. These nations are being set up to follow a charismatic leader, the Mahdi. Turkey also allies with Pakistan, who has nuclear weapons, and the two nations participate in mutual military exercises every year. In combination, the armies of all these nations we've been talking about would make this pan-Islamic army the second largest in the world, second only to China. Yes, let me say that again as well. It would be larger than the USA's army, and potentially, if equipped by China in a weapons for oil swap, it may be equal to the USA in technology. A frightening possibility. So if you've been thinking there's like no way some small nation like Turkey could ever beat the USA or Europe, hey, think again. The target of those armies is pretty clear. It's the same target mentioned in Ezekiel 38, the city of Jerusalem. Islamic prophecy also speaks of this target. If you see the black banners coming from Khorasan, which is Afghanistan and northwest Iran, by the way, join that army. Even if you have to crawl over ice, no power will be able to stop them, and they will finally reach Beitul Maqdis, which is Jerusalem, where they will erect their flags. So this entire effort has an end-time focus, the invasion of Jerusalem at the midpoint of a 70th week. Muslims also believe it is at the time of the black flags that the Mahdi will emerge. He will join them and lead them into Jerusalem, which will become his capital city. Izzat and Arif say the Mahdi will be victorious and eradicate those pigs and dogs and idols of this time, so that there will once more be a caliphate based on prophethood, as the Hadith states. Jerusalem will be the location of the rightly guided caliphate and the center of Islamic rule, which will be headed by Imam Mahdi. That will abolish the leadership of the Jews. So if you're keeping score, the Antichrist is going to reign from Jerusalem too. Oh, and also, we didn't mention it, but the Mahdi will establish a peace treaty for 7 years, according to Muhammad. I'm just saying. Which brings up the subject of the seals of Revelation. Is this pan-Islamic army and the Mahdi the earthly aspect of those seals? We had already discussed the rider of the first seal's white horse and how the Mahdi fits there. In Matthew 24, Jesus equates the first seal with the coming of false prophets and false messiahs. The Mahdi fits again. He's a false messiah. The second seal involves worldwide conflict. Again, the Mahdi fits. And we've already discussed the fourth seal and the death of 1/4 of the earth's population. Again, in Matthew 24, Jesus equates the fourth seal with the abomination of desolation in Jerusalem. Again, Jerusalem will be the Mahdi's target. He fits all of these. But what was that I just said about Matthew 24 being the equivalent of the seals of Revelation? Why, if that was true, it would give us an amazing understanding of the end times. You could look at Matthew 24 and have a much better idea of the timing and meaning of each one of the seals of Revelation. Well, guess what? It is true. If you want to see how that's possible, click right here to keep watching and learn there are 13 exact similarities in exactly the same order between Matthew 24 and Revelation 6. It's like 6 trillion to 1 odds that they aren't the same. Till then, this is Nelson, and I'll see you there.